Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to Monday night. And you guys will be getting this on Tuesday morning, so I don't know why I'm saying Monday night. Welcome to Unhinged Podcast. Don't know what episode this is. Going out 2 in a row, 4 in a row, 6 in a row, 8 in a row. I have no idea. And we're not the type of podcast. We're going to celebrate.
I don't think anybody's keeping count anymore.
No,
I know I'm not.
No, I'm not. I really, since we've been with the newsroom, I've really just don't care. But week 3 has come and gone. A lot of excitement happened in the XFL. Better quality football, I have to say. But oh shit, well, we're going on a little tangent here already to start the show, and I completely forgot. Unhinged Podcast. I'm the host, Jim Renier, aka J Dash, and my co-host Carlos.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Carlos, the wrestling movie guy, part man, part machine, all podcaster. As always, we got to go through the ringer. Remember, guys, if you want to buy some quality, awesome, old school XFL gear, you got to check out your boys at 503 Sports. And if you want to get 10% off your order, type in Unhinged at the checkout line. Make sure to follow XFL Newsroom. Check out that site. They have all the up-to-date articles on the latest XFL news. And follow them on Twitter at XFL Newsroom. Don't forget to follow us. And, of course, if you want to support the show, you want to help us out, throw a couple bucks our way, check out Anchor. If you go on Anchor and you type in the XFL Unhinged Podcast, it'll pop up. And if you want to throw us a couple bucks, you can right there. And with that said, let's get this ball rolling. What's first today?
Well, the first thing I want to say is I want to thank the fans or people who listen to our podcast for the positive ratings and reviews. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Without you guys, we don't know what we'll be right now. Maybe just a bunch of 2 average Joes that were struggling to complete a sentence in our first couple podcasts to, making a mockery of ourselves, getting stuff stolen from us.
I was going to say, we still kind of struggle with words, I think.
Oh, yeah, true. And
we're still 2 dopes.
Yeah, we're not.
We just have more followers now. That's the only difference.
Yeah, we don't.
And we thank you.
we don't get paid by a company to go to a specific location to get your product being showboated all over YouTube as the main source of news. So that really got me. I'm not going to really get into that subject today. Me and the ref with XFL Newsroom and a couple guys on the Discord were talking about this over this weekend. Just a little about how the XFL has gotten away from more about the fans and fan projects and fans podcasts are the number one thing to literally falling back on their foundation and their morals and just now claiming one source. But that really got me. I'm not really, pissed about it. I just feel like if you're going to build a brand and say it's going to be about the league, about the fans around the league that make this league, and you align yourself with one brand, really just tells you that you're not for the fans. You want somebody to control your company line. So
basically, you're saying they only want one podcast, the other show, which we will not mention their names on this, but basically that's what they're trying to do now after promising that we could all have our own XFL show. I remember that we tried to hit them up and say, hey, are you looking for any official podcast? No, we're not really looking for that. We're not going to brand any one podcast as the XFL podcast. So it's so weird that they're going back on the word. It's not official yet though, right?
Oh, the XFL has made it known. Look at Sunday's show. And it didn't really, the mothership, they do what they want. They make great quality. At one point, they were original. At one point, they were awesome. Now they're just corporate line, and I don't like how you've built your platform on we're fan based, fan powered, for the fans, and we'll never, shy away from that. But yet you follow every single second, and you say yes sir, no sir to the XFL. Like, they're your boss. But I just don't like how the XFL says, hey, it's all about fans. It's all about the fans. They can have their products. From what I've heard this past weekend, I will not make it known because I do not want to be the podcast that's labeled this. But from what I've known from a good source of mine, things are going to change this offseason. And meaning about things are going to change, I'm going to give you guys a hint. Go look for NFL podcasts that have the NFL in their name that are associated or somewhat associated with the league, and get back to me on how many of those actually exist. Then you'll understand where I'm going.
Great, just like YouTube. YouTube again.
Yes.
Oh, great.
And also the XFL just made some trademarks for XFL Showcase and XFL, I want to say, Highlight. They're I guarantee they're about to do shows, or that could be, the game. But besides having a great weekend of football, we'll get to the games. Our episode today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to see our highlights, what we thought of each game, what we liked, what we didn't like. We'll talk about certain subject. We're not going to break down each individual stat. Matter of fact, we may call some players out for being trash.
Well, essentially, what I think you're trying to say is that basically we're going to give our main thoughts, the main takeaways from each game, and then we're going to save our predictions for the next episode later in the week. So episode 1 from here on out is going to be our impressions, our thoughts on the previous weekend. And then what? Thursday, Friday, we'll have our predictions out. We're trying to make that more or less the format, I'd say.
Yeah, predictions. And the reason why you guys got double the shows on Thursday and Friday last week is because me and Carlos were so busy during the week. We did a double recording Wednesday night. Was it last week?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And we actually had to act like it was 2 separate days, which is very weird. It really screwed with my mind when I went to work the next day. I thought it was Friday, and boss was like, it's Thursday. I'm like, shit, I shouldn't be doing podcasts, 2-hour podcasts and having it, on one day thinking, oh, today's Thursday. And then you do your next podcast 5 minutes. Oh, it's Friday.
Well, great. Now the illusion is gone from the last episode. You just ruined it, man.
Oh, they know. They can tell by how we talked. It's just different. But then again, I'm not attacking the other show for having being the first ones to get to the product, but it's just like a politician. They use people to get to their position, and when they finally use what they need to get to their position, they screw you to everyone else.
Cut and run.
And they might hear this podcast. Their moles in our Discord might hear it. But I guarantee they know who the mothership is. So.
Hey, what does it matter though, man? We just keep on keeping on. Dude.
I don't care. It's like, I'm going to say this, Carlos, and I'm going to say this to the listener out there. If the XFL fails, which there's a good chance it will fail or will shut down because spring leagues don't exist. We have a history of that.
But we got 3 years.
Yeah, or 2 or 3 years, whatever. The Unhinged podcast will continue. We will go to other stuff. Me and Carlos will talk about wrestling. We'll talk about, sporting events. We'll talk about stuff that we're comfortable with. Movies. Games. We're good with that stuff. We're not going to be that one, just XFL 100% of the time. Yes, this league brought us together. But I have plans on continuing this podcast after. So if you're still here with us after the XFL or want to know what we're going to do in the offseason, be prepared for limited XFL talk and a lot other conversations because there's more sports this offseason. And if the dire time happens where
if it happens,
just be said that we're still going to be here. We're not going to haul ass.
We're multi-versatile.
And ask you to go pay money on our Patreon for, wrestling observations that you can get anywhere else. But besides from that, I have to say this about the XFL. Bravo. Bravo, St. Louis. Bravo, Seattle. Not just because of the quality of the play of the field. No, not really for the Dragons. But,
yeah, I'm about to say, Dragons had their moments, but didn't play all that great.
But the stadiums were rocking.
Especially St. Louis.
29,554 in St. Louis. Great atmosphere. Like we said in our last podcast, if the Battlehawks host or find a way to get that 1 seed in the East, there's no one in the Eastern Conference is going into that stadium and beating the Battlehawks. I thought it was going to be DC. They kind of went off a little edge here, but
Off the edge. Dude, they went off the rails. They took a train and turned into the Hindenburg. They went down, and they went down hard.
But the thing is you lost to you guys lost to LA on the West Coast in a non-division game. You're still the only reason why St. Louis is first place right now is because of touchdown differential. That is the only way. There's still a lot of football left to be played, and the thing that I like about Week 3, except for being a 4-team race in the league, we already saw the separation between the 4 teams. Dallas and Houston in the West, and St. Louis and St. Louis and DC in the East. Now LA popped their head in. Hello. Good afternoon, LA. There you go, Josh Johnson. There you go. That's how you shove it to pro football talk about having bad quarterback play. Thank you, Josh Johnson. What the hell of a game you had, bro. Also, Tampa. Where the hell have you been? Yes, I know you guys lost to Houston, but damn. Nice crowd there, by the way. Didn't expect them to put 18,000 in there, but Tampa, gotta give you guys a clap there, bro. Awesome. But even though that Tampa lost to New York in Week 1, New York is trash. They're in disarray. They've been blown out back-to-back weeks. They don't look good. Tampa Bay looks a lot better than New York.
I feel like New York and Tampa Bay were like two ships passing through the night. New York takes that first win. Yay, we're doing great. Tampa Bay gets pretty much wrecked, and now they're the complete opposite. Tampa Bay has risen, and New York has imploded.
You know what strange thing is? This is one thing I love about football. This is one thing I love about baseball. This is one thing I like about professional sports or any sport that is. You can have a shitty ass record, and you can be better than a team that's 5-1. For instance, in college football, usually a team from a Power 5 school, Power 5 conference like an ACC, SEC, Big Ten, who's 0-3, can destroy and kick someone's asses from a Sun Belt who's 5-0, because yes, they're 0-3, but they played better, but they may not got the wins yet because they may play a hard schedule. For Tampa, they went from New York, lost in a very type of game, then flew across the country to Seattle into that 29,000-seat stadium or capacity stadium, played competitive against Seattle, bad plays at the end, turnovers, whatever. They have to fly all the way back and take on the number one, the best team in the XFL and the Houston Roughnecks, and gave Houston a damn game. That tells you that, yes, Cornelius, Flowers, they need to fix that quarterback situation, but I think Tampa Bay may find a way to get back. They're only 2 games behind DC for the wild card spot, and technically 2 games behind the St. Louis Battlehawks for the number 1 seed. But if you had to tell me right now, if Tampa Bay, who I trust more in the East, Tampa Bay or New York? Give me Tampa Bay. They just look better. They may not look at by the record wise, but over the last 2 weeks, they've looked like a better, well-coached team. They're still trying to figure out their quarterback situation, I understand, but they look better. Mess. They look better than that train wreck in New York and the Mr. Trash Can who's faking injuries to stay on the sideline. But hell of a Week 3. The one thing I gotta say is that the level of football in Week 3 in the XFL, 10 times better, 20 times better than the AAF last year. The AAF last year, you had two legit teams and Birmingham. Well, no, Birmingham was the legit team. It was San Antonio, Birmingham, and Orlando were the only decent teams. Yeah, they only had 3. In the XFL, you're seeing 4 to 5 teams that are going to be in the conversation all the way to Week 9 to Week 10 of the season. Unfortunately, in the AAF, we didn't know that because the season ended in Week 8. But one thing I do have to say to the XFL, to the fans that have come out in force, LA, I don't care if you guys got 12,000 people in that stadium. One thing I know about Los Angeles, even though I despise that city in every single sport, when LA teams win, they sell out. In LA, you guys are winning this weekend. I'm already telling that right now. That is my lock of the week for next week's game. We'll break that down on Friday's podcast. LA is going to beat the shit out of New York next week. Josh Johnson is going to tear them apart unless our savior, Luis Perez, takes the Guardians out from the cellar and becomes the Batman of Gotham.
I mean, he already scored 1 touchdown on 4 out of 5 when he stepped in garbage time. It's garbage time defense, but at the same time, he did more than anybody else did.
He looked better than Trash Can.
Trash can, goddamn it. Feel terrible calling him that.
What?
Oh, poor McGloin. Dude, he's completely imploded as well. The trash can is unable to get the job. So, yeah, Luis Perez actually, I think, has a pretty decent job. Yeah. I think he'll do all right, but if he's playing, I just don't expect him to be able to do enough against LA. That defense got nasty. Going back to DC real quick, what the hell happened? I know it's only one game, but I mean, 4 picks and a fumble. The defense was nowhere to be found. Anthony Johnson went MIA. Why wasn't Anthony Johnson playing? Can anybody explain that to me? I haven't been able to find one article on why Johnson didn't play on DC, because I looked at the stats and I saw nothing there. I don't recall seeing him when I saw the game. I didn't think anything of it until after. I was like, wait a minute, where the hell was Johnson? Don't you think he would have loved to have shown up and go up against his former team and prove what's his face? The LA's head coach prove him wrong.
What's the Moss, Mr. No Flinch,
and Cardell Jones. Like, I was all in, but that kind of performance really gives me major cause for concern. Like, he dig deep in his Ryan Leaf bag, his interception bag, and he just pulled out 4. But I did like the way that he was handling it on the field. He wasn't like freaking out. He was going up to the team. He was like, hey, next time, guys, next time. So I like that. That's a good sign at the very least.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great sign.
That's a professional. I expect him to act like one. And that was good.
He made some bad plays. You have to understand that that's the reason why he's in the XFL. It's because of that. He made a lot of bad plays in his training camp and his preseasons and his NFL teams. But you got to put this factor in. A 7-hour plane flight to LA from DC, roughly 3 time zones.
Yeah, it's a rough trip.
And even though it was only 12,000 fans in the stands, I watched the game. They were making some noise. It's one thing I love about soccer stadiums in this country. They're not big. Crap. Remember what I said last week or 2 weeks ago?
Nope.
About the Los Angeles Chargers?
Yes, how they really struggle to sell out, and when they do, it's because the opposing team shows up.
Yeah, the Wildcats are still outdrawing the Chargers.
That's actually true. As far as pure fans, they actually are. How sad is that?
Yeah, it's absolutely sad. But one thing, to switch this, we're still talking about LA and DC. We'll get to the other games. Of course, we'll get to St. Louis, but
let's finally focus on a game.
Pro football talk. Bros, we got on you last week. Jesus Christ, you're at it again this week. 12,000 people in the stands saw LA blow out DC. Shows signs that LA team can't stand the test of time. What the fuck?
It's LA. That's to be expected. It takes a while for any team to get any kind of love out there.
But still, they're not going to talk about the ratings that didn't go down.
Yeah, actually, LA ratings were pretty steady.
Yeah, the ratings stay the same throughout the board, throughout the country. And that's what the XFL is, hoping. The 1.9, 1.8 average, peaking around about 2.6, 2.7.
Well, the thing that's kind of drinking. Well, it is slightly down though because more than one game was on Fox Sports 1, if I remember correctly. Yeah. But anytime you have one game on Fox Sports 1, just one any week, it's going to bring the numbers down.
Well, and also you had NASCAR that came on Fox on Sunday, so they were competing with NASCAR with I think both games on Sunday. But I guarantee people say, what does NASCAR have to do with it? Well, the audience you're trying to attract are football fans. A lot of them live down south in the Bible Belt of the nation, and they are big NASCAR fans down here.
Well, NASCAR also has a bigger contract with Fox than the
Yes.
XFL does, so it preempts it. So it's
But
going to
they
get bumped off.
but they were still some great, little images. Is like, hey, all right, don't miss out on the XFL action here on Fox Sports 1. They like did like a quick screen to LA. It's pretty awesome. How I know I was watching racing because that's what I do. I watch NASCAR.
Yeah, not for me. I'm sorry if I
Uh,
offend anybody, but I'm
but
just not into it.
But that's like, well, you talk about your sport before the XFL. Why are you watching NASCAR? I had 2 TVs in my living room, and one was on XFL, and one was on NASCAR. I was giving both of them a love. So
Nice.
I shove it.
It's called a man cave.
Well, it's also called my living room, but
Shh,
uh,
same thing.
I just moved
Hush, I'm speaking for you.
Well, the TVs are so damn light nowadays, man. I just picked it up from the living room and brought it in the living room. It was from the bedroom to the living room. It's not that heavy. It's like 5 ounces, and I got my 65-inch screen TV in front of me and got my 40 right next to it. I got remember to bring back the TV to the bedroom, but that'll be later today. But out of all the games, one thing I do have to say is that you can tell that the competition on the field in all 4 games, and even in the league, is day and night compared to the AAF. Completely day and night. And the reason why I say that is that even though the 2 games on Sundays were blowouts, they were good, hard-fought football games. You got players on those fields busting ass. And when you have NFL scouts making comments at the combine saying they've been scouting for the last couple of weeks because of the XFL, says a lot.
It adds legitimacy to the league.
I don't know who that scout was. It was just said anonymous NFL scout. It was on, I think it was, Yahoo Sports? No, not. No, it was freaking ESPN. I have Yahoo in front of me right now on my computer, so that's why I said Yahoo Sports.
Who the hell still uses Yahoo?
My email.
Oh.
You can email me at any time at XFL Unhinged at yahoo.com. But one thing about that DC game, yes, you guys went across a country to LA. You could say LA was a bit of a, was a snake pit to start off the game. But you saw it last week when Josh Johnson got there. The LA team was starting to, come alive. This whole offseason, we have said that the West, or me personally, and a couple guys at Newsroom, I don't know that you've said this, but I said that the Western Division was going to be the best division, but the champion is going to come out of the East. I'm almost just saying that whoever wins the West is going to win it all. Because Dallas is finally getting better. Houston's, good start, but LA showed signs of a team with a favorable schedule coming up to get back into the race in the West and compete for that wild card spot or the second seed in the West. That game in LA, even though I was on Fox Sports 1, and DC kind of, made a mistake early, then just continued to bury themselves. I wasn't going to be Barstool Sports and tweet that the Redskins were cited in LA.
Actually, that's pretty damn funny. that's a good one. I'll give him that.
But
oh god,
I know it's one loss, and you guys go to Tampa Bay next week, so that's going to be quite an interesting matchup because Tampa Bay's improving. The thing is, you still have the advantage of the QB. That's one thing I want to make at. But the one thing
I hope so.
The one thing I gotta put in this game that I've noticed noticed about this game, it's not just Cardell making mistakes. Is the flying around that freaking LA was doing on defense. They were on a freaking mission Sunday night. And when we were previewing the season, we said that LA and New York and DC were going to be the best defenses in the league. They still could possibly be. That may be the only thing that New York has is their defense. But it didn't show this week, though. One thing I'm impressed about LA is right now I think LA is better than Seattle. And I think LA is well, currently, if you look at stadiums, they're third place and they're a game back of Dallas. That head-to-head loss to Dallas it hurts. But that shows me from last week's game between Dallas and LA, well, even though it was a battle between two 0-1 teams and it was kind of shaky in the beginning, we're starting to see these teams all come together because now we're 3 weeks in. And the quality of the game is awesome. And LA showed to me that they're going to New York next week. And that's not going to look good for New York. The only thing I think New York hopes for is a blizzard and the game gets canceled. Or decide to start Luis Perez and leave trash can on the sideline.
Well, I think that probably brings us over to New York and St. Louis. I mean, I don't think there's a ton to say. I mean, there's a lot to say about St. Louis and how dominant they are. I mean, we've been talking enough about New York. St. Louis, I think, is starting to figure out their identity because I didn't realize, but Matt Jones had over 90 yards, and right now he's leading the league in rushing. He is getting sneaky yards.
Yeah.
And it's becoming very dangerous. And I think that St. Louis, as long as they run the ball consistently well, they can take a lot of pressure off of the throwing Samoan Tuamu and turn him into more of a game manager. No disrespect to him, but they can turn him more into a game manager as long as he doesn't turn over the ball and they score running the ball. Who can beat them, especially with that defense? They were quite dominant. And with that home field advantage, they have by far the best home field advantage in the XFL because no other city has embraced the XFL more than St. Louis. No offense to any of the others, Houston, Dallas, DC, all y'all. Man, St. Louis is on a whole nother level.
I would like to take this moment to make a service announcement, a special service announcement. Carlos, I want to congratulate you on pronouncing Jordan Tiamu's name correctly for the first time on this podcast.
Woo! Hey, I'm a late bloomer.
It's only taking you 2 months.
Token me? Oh, okay. Who's struggling now?
Look who's talking. Me, my dumbass myself. You pronounced his name for the first time on the podcast. Would you like to thank anybody for this?
Is that T.A. Moo throwing the ball?
T.A. Moo? What's that guy? He doesn't look like The Rock. He's not no Samoan. Well, he's from Hawaii. But
they're finally coming into their own.
Yeah. Man, that dome was rocking. I was watching the game. I had the volume up because I really wanted to see if ESPN was it? Yeah, it was ESPN. ESPN. I was about to say ABC. That was Saturday. I wanted to see if ESPN captured the crowd noise in there because usually inside of a dome it's a lot louder than it's a normal outside. But of course, going through Twitter, just seeing how everyone's talking about, you saw a guy who hashtag Commanders. And if you remember who the Commanders are, ladies and gentlemen, that is the San Antonio Commanders.
Yeah.
And it's some random fan I just saw. I don't want to call him out. I'm not going to put his name on blast here, but he said, he's like, if the AAF had a TV deal like ESPN, the stadium will sound a lot louder in San Antonio. And I was like, yeah, you did have more people, but also the Alamo Dome is a bigger building than the Dome of the American Center in almost in Las Vegas and St. Louis.
It's all sour grapes. It's just like WCW, and they didn't even have anywhere near as long as staying as that.
I got actual numbers in front of me. I talk about the actual these AAF people that's still fighting that the league is successful. The XFL is not as successful as the AAF. Well, week 3, the AAF had a total of 56,312 people attend their games with an average of 14,078 in each stadium. I understand Arizona and Utah had home games that week. I understand that. But the XFL had 81,942 attend their games this week with an average attendance of 20,485.
Boom! Drop the mic.
The XFL has better TV ratings, has better attendance, and the overall season attendance. We're only week 3, ladies and gentlemen. Well, week 3. We got 7 more weeks of football plus the playoffs and the championship game.
Mm-hmm.
We are already at the halfway point of what the AAF had in total attendance. Just telling you that. The total attendance for the AAF all year was 489,330. The XFL after 3 weeks is at roughly around 230,000. We're half that already. A little below half, but near it. With St. Louis hosted next week, yeah, we might get close to it then. But next week's games, the only question mark I got next week is the New York crowd. I'm not worried about Tampa Bay for some odd reason anymore. They actually impressed me with their crowd show. But it was also beautiful down here in the state of Florida this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Beautiful to go out and play some golf, watching baseball, NASCAR, football.
Watch
was
some
great
XFL.
weather. It was awesome weather down south. I don't care what sport you watch; it was beautiful down here. But St. Louis, as I gave Seattle the props last week of a great attendance and great support and how loud the stadium got, man, if St. Louis finds a way to give Matt Jones the ball, like you mentioned, Carlos, and keeps him, and Matt Jones doesn't develop the Washington Redskin disease that he did when he played for DC.
My God, he's got fumbleitis.
Yeah.
Code red. Yeah, he needs to avoid that.
And not let Jordan Tiamu force the one thing about Jordan Tiamu. Last week he looked pretty awesome in the pocket, making smart plays and dunking the ball down the field. But when he gets put in pressure situation where he needs to make a throw, he made mistakes against Houston. But that one mistake, I'm not really fully getting him on that. I think that was a blown call by the referees, in my opinion.
Yes, actually, I agree 100% on that. But he still made 2 mistakes. That's what happened in the end.
Yeah, I'm not.
That's what it says on the box score.
But he wasn't put in that position on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
St. Louis jumped on him early. I think they ran 3 run plays to start the game and scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
Put New York in the hole. Then Trash Can leads the team out there for New York. And, my hip hurts. And he's off the sideline, just, getting some rust on his trash can lid. Then St. Louis gets the ball back, scores again, and it's dull effect for about maybe 5-10 minutes. And all of a sudden, we get our first ever kickoff return for a touchdown.
And what a touchdown.
And that stadium roof popped off. St. Louis, I know you guys have the Battlehawks. I know you guys love the Battlehawks. I know you guys are crazy. I read a couple articles from your local newspapers this morning. You guys are crazy. Your fans are crazy. That's what we need in the XFL community. But this game, there was a deeper message in this game besides the Guardians and the Battlehawks. The city of St. Louis unveiled the largest, biggest middle finger ever created. And the design is very similar to their logo. Flicking off that owner that's in LA right now and the National Football League. How in the hell is there no NFL team in St. Louis for the city that's that passionate for the game? St. Louis proved it on Sunday.
And not once, but twice. Yeah, that's right, people. If you did not know, the Arizona Cardinals, formerly the Phoenix Cardinals, formerly Chicago Cardinals, used to also play in St. Louis. So St. Louis is a city that has been burned not once, but twice by the NFL. And they have absolutely embraced the Battlehawks. And I never even thought about the whole middle finger in the logo. But looking at it now, you're right. It does kind of look like a middle finger.
But one thing I gotta say, for St. Louis, you guys are home next week against Seattle. You should win that game. Seattle is starting. My MVP pick is going to trash, just like yours in preseason. Yours was Rashad Ross.
Ross, yes.
Rashad Ross. Mine was Brandon Silvers. I think now that Seattle needs to make a change for BJ Daniels. But that's next week's game. Hopefully Seattle makes a decision. I don't know if Jim Zorn's thinking yet.
Well, I think actually that should bring us over to game number 3 real quick. Seattle versus Dallas. Right off the bat, I agree with you and all that, but I think it's worse than how you made it sound. I think the problem is that Seattle thought that they have an identity, but they don't really have an identity. What do you think of them best right now? Like, I want to think it's the run game. It's all right, but it ain't great. I kind of
Uh,
want to think the pass play because Jim Zorn's calling all kinds of crazy plays. No, not really. And their defense seems a bit inconsistent. I think that right now they're like a blank slate of clay. They don't really have an identity yet.
yeah, I don't think they have an identity yet as well. I think it's because either Brandon Silvers is not the guy that they thought he was going to be, and they need to possibly make a change, or players like Keenan Reynolds and Austin Farrow and Gardner, their Williams, really, offensive weapons, excuse me, are not performing.
Except for Prohl, he's doing damn good.
Oh yes. I think he's I think he's on an NFL team next year, this offseason, probably New England, because New England likes those type of players.
Also, probably doesn't hurt that his dad is Ricky Prohl.
Yeah. Super Bowl champion, St. Louis Rams. I don't know how I know that, but that was just right on top of my head. My issue with Seattle is that they have a defense that could keep them in games. They just don't have the offense that can keep up with certain teams. When they took that 12-6 lead off of Landry Jones's turnover-prone self, Landry Jones basically kept Seattle in that game by himself. But honestly, I don't think Seattle's identity to me, I think they need to stay with the running game, honestly. You have Gardner and you have Williams back there. And you have, was it Farrow?
I was just looking at, Farrow.
Yeah.
I keep, in my brain, I keep calling him Mia Farrow. I'm like, oh, good for her. She changed up careers.
But
I do love Steve Johnson. That guy's an all-out beast. 14 tackles and 5 assists. Those are great freaking numbers right there.
The problem with Seattle right here is last week they played against a Tampa team that was still finding themselves, which I think they're now starting to find themselves. It's been 3 weeks, but sometimes a blind squirrel finds a nut. Teams, in my opinion, so far in the XFL, like St. Louis, like LA, and New York at times, need to trust their run more. One thing I've noticed from St. Louis, they have ran the ball well so far this season, and that's going to win them a lot of games. Problem with Seattle is that they'll start off with a good running attack, each like early in the first quarter, early in the second quarter, then they'll go away from it. Like it's in existence, it goes, it's goodbye, it's done.
I've seen it before. Hello, Jim Zorn.
Yeah, and you put all the pressure on Silvers to make plays. And usually when this game against Dallas was still a game in the second half, trust your running game. Get 4 or 5 yards. Make that third down shorter. Make it out of 34 or 33. Or make it a 4th and 1 or 4th and 2. One thing I've noticed in this game against Seattle and Dallas was it was always 4th and 9, a 3rd and 11. You're not going to convert that. I don't care who you are. I don't care how many downs you have. You're not going to convert that on a high percentage. But
how about Dallas?
Dallas is finding themselves.
I think Landry Jones, though, he's able to move the ball quite a bit, but he's got to turn down on the turnovers. He needs to get a better hold on the ball. He just needs to not turn the ball over.
But you also got to think it's also his second game.
Even still, you're a professional. You're supposed to be raising the team. If you're that highly touted, you should be able to be ready to go. And that probably is unfair to sit there and think about it, but it is true. He was the face of the league. And where is he right now? This is what I was saying about the hype machine. Everybody was hyping him up. He's looking a bit overrated to me, but I can't
Sorry.
deny that he's throwing the most yards in the game. Like, he has been doing excellent with that, but he can't just continuously have games where, like, yeah, you throw 3 touchdowns, but also throw 2 interceptions.
Landry
Like,
Jones is
that's
just
no
being his
good.
best buddy. That's all. He's just being the XFL's versions of Ben Roethlisberger.
Ben Roethlisberger's got a Super Bowl ring, so actually multiple.
But I'm just saying he's trying to symbolize what Big Ben was.
And he ain't that.
Oh no, because he'll be in the NFL if he was like that.
Exactly.
But if you look at Dallas last week injured receivers. They're mostly healthy now. They're getting healthy, and now that Landry Jones is getting his connections with the receivers,
Parham, absolute beast. He's a fantastic tight end. I think that he's getting chemistry with him. I will give him absolute props there. He's getting together with him very well.
He's going to get a training camp invite from an NFL team.
Mm-hmm.
Parham. He's that big type of style of tight end that is succeeding very well in the NFL right now.
Under the Redskins, baby.
Or whoever.
We don't have a tight end. Vacancy.
Well, you could adapt the June Jones type of offense if you want.
It's up to Ron Rivera.
Yeah, that's right. Jaguars got your former head coach, by the way.
Enjoy that.
By track with Jay Gruden. But another game that I wanted to get into this week, or was because we have to get into it, is the most competitive game of the week. And if you would have told me, hey, this was going to be the most competitive game on Friday, I would have said, get the hell out of here.
We did. We unanimously said Houston was going to run away with this.
Yeah, we were wrong. But then again, what do we know? Again, well, like we said before the podcast today, congrats, Tampa. Holy shit. Where the hell do you guys come from? But damn. You guys fixed that quarterback situation. Maybe Vegas wasn't that far off with that 7.5 win over or under. Maybe they knew something about Tampa. It's just that quarterback situation.
Like a quarterback carousel. Now you're in. Now you're in. Now you're in. Now you're in.
But Taylor Cornelius actually played a pretty good game. Yes, he at the end he made a boneheaded play, but you got to give credit where credit's due. That Tampa Bay team started the game off hot, kept up with Houston. There were some couple blown coverages in that game that were awesome. And then again, Philip Walker is just a human highlight reel in the XFL right now. Currently, the MVP front runner. It was more of a Tampa Bay did enough to win. It's just that Houston made more plays, and especially Walker himself and homeboy Cam Phillips. Jesus, my man. If it's not Philip Walker, that's the MVP. Cam Phillips is right there.
Yeah, he's completely blown Rashad Ross, my pick, out of the water. I bow down to the altar of Cam Phillips. He has been absolutely fantastic. And what more can you say about PJ Walker? How quickly is he going to get on an NFL team? I dare ask you. The only thing that sucks, though, is that's going to be bad for the XFL because what are we going to do without him?
What did we know about him going into the season?
Not much, but how many Philip Walkers are we going to find? There's only one Philip Walker right now.
Yeah, but we will find guys that are coming out of college who are not going to make NFL squads. They're going to get a chance to get in the XFL next year. Maybe a smart ass who can't shut the hell up on Twitter may find a itch to go play again.
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. Were you speaking to me?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I know.
You know that Texas region. The guy thinks he's
Mr.
awesome.
Money.
I think he's direct general now or some shit doing those commercial.
His name rhymes with Hansel.
Something. Is it Johnny Montz or Jimmy?
Oh, it's Jimmy Hansel.
Jimmy Hansel, yeah. Yeah, the douchebag that likes to talk trash, then deletes his profile, then comes back and says he was just trolling. Yeah, grow some balls, dude, and change your life, and maybe you can have a chance again in the XFL. But I do say, like we were talking about Philip Walker, we won't have a Philip Walker next year, yes, but that gives opportunity to Connor Cook. That gives opportunity to other guys in the league that are backups that have a chance to be traded if there is a trade thing in the XFL this offseason. And also might be, a return of players coming from, minor league baseball that finally wants to, make another run in football, like Tim Tebow, who's been aggressively talking with the XFL over the last couple of weeks or a couple of months. That's been reported. I think, yes, Philip Walker, if he wins the MVP, goes to the NFL, he is going to make on the roster in the NFL. He's a type of quarterback that'll be a great backup in Kansas City behind Mahomes.
How about San Diego?
Well, that's San Diego.
Well, San Diego, Jesus. I'm still stuck on the Chargers being in San Diego. Los Angeles. They're looking for a quarterback. You
can tell Phil, hey, you just won the XFL MVP. You're going to go to San Diego. There's no team in XFL. There's no team over there. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, whoops.
A good one.
My bad.
But you got to give credit where credit's due. Phil Walker has been insane. He personally has more touchdowns than any other team in the XFL by himself. It's Philip Walker. Then number 2, I think, is the DC Defenders with 11 or 10. But you got to give credit. I don't know how much time I have saw watching that game where I'm like, oh, it's a 3rd and 9. There's no way Tampa Bay is going to get off the field with this. Oh, look, Philip Walker, first down. Or, oh, look, Philip Walker's about to get sacked. Oh,
no, he's not.
A little step up in the pocket and a little flick of the wrist, and Cam Phillips is wide the F open. I think it was a 68-yard touchdown run there in the first quarter.
Guys, sneaky.
But right now, my observation right now for the Houston and Texas, or Houston, Texas, that's where it's located. The Houston and Tampa Bay game is that Houston, in my opinion, had to let down a little bit because they came in the game think, oh, it's just Tampa Bay. It's almost that trap game type of feel because they do have a big matchup next week against Dallas. But gotta give props to Tampa Bay. They played like the best 0-3 team in the league.
Well, they are the best 0-3 team in the league.
I was waiting for you to say something.
I don't think there's any other.
They're the only one. But if you did a power ranking, they're not the number 8 team in the league.
Got them ahead of New York.
Yep. I have New York as the number 8 team in the league. But a quick besides this week of football, positive things we could talk about. And we could go on for hours. We're not sponsored, so we don't have commercial breaks, so we can't go for hours.
Well, we do once in a while for Anchor if you listen on Anchor. And we thank you for subscribing. But continue.
I think me and you are both unanimous on who the number 8 team is on our power rankings this week.
The Guardians.
The Guardians at 7. I agree. All right. Number 7. This is where I put Tampa, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Number 6 is Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5 is Los Angeles.
Yep, climbing up the ranks.
Number 4, I put Dallas.
Still getting their offensive situation worked out.
Number 3, I have DC.
We've got a lot of questions. Went from number 1 to 3 pretty damn quick.
Number 2, St. Louis.
Got a hell of a home field advantage. They are rocking the game.
And number 1, I have Houston.
Easy answer. Most explosive team in the league.
But,
it's so obvious.
But if the season ended today, ladies and gentlemen, if it was all a long off season that consisted of 3 games, and that's it, just 3 games, 3-game season, the postseason is set up as this via XFL.com, the XFL.com, the actual website, XFL.com, not the other site. Or XFLNewsroom.com. You can go there for your XFL news. Number 1 source of your news via fans. Powered by the fans, for you, the fans. The playoffs, if it started today, Dallas will be traveling to Houston, and DC will be traveling to St. Louis. And the only reason why DC is traveling to St. Louis, ladies and gentlemen, is because of the touchdown differential. There's no head-to-head matchup yet, so that's the first tiebreaker. Even though their standings are a little weird, you'll start seeing them separate because of head-to-head and division record. That's how it should happen. The touchdown differential should be the final tiebreaker, in which I've talked to an XFL representative who does the standings, and he confirmed that. He said, yes, that's the final tiebreaker, is the touchdown differential. It goes by overall record, division record, conference record, or head-to-head. It goes overall, head-to-head, divisional, then touchdown differential. That's how the standings are going to work. The only reason why they're doing it right now, the touchdown differential, is because you're only 3 weeks into the season.
Yeah.
But you'll start seeing the standings separate. They're not changing. I sent him an email. He goes, it doesn't change. We're 3 weeks into the season. This is how we're doing our tiebreaker scenario. And that's okay. Good. Just want to know, just FYI. I was asking about another question. That's where I brought up the subject earlier today about stuff's going to change this offseason. But one thing I know about the playoff format and what we mentioned earlier in the show, if St. Louis becomes the number 1 seed in the East, there's no one going to St. Louis and winning. That place is going to be hectic, and I guarantee you, knowing St. Louis, they'll open up that upper deck for a playoff game. They'll put more than 29,000 there. They may put 40 in there. And that means a lot to fans who want to see football succeed, especially spring football to succeed. But one thing I have to say about week 3, it was a very entertaining week. Every game had their different characteristics. Interesting storylines, great fan support, social media buzzing. But one thing about the XFL that we have to realize, it's week 3. Standings are good, or not standings, attendance is good, ratings are good, the quality of football is getting better, but we're now entering a phase in the season that is going to be very competitive for the XFL. We're entering March, and March is known as March Madness. So we're going to have like 3 straight weeks here, about 4 weeks where we're going to be competing with college basketball. And this is where we'll see the true colors of the XFL. So enjoy. I know I enjoyed it. It was a hell of a week. Week 4 is coming up next week. Guardians are hosting the LA Wildcats. Battlehawks are hosting Seattle. Dallas is home to Houston. And Tampa Bay is hosting DC. Our prediction show comes out Friday. We'll go on some rants. I might get some DMs. I might get blocked by a couple of other people on Twitter.
When the hell do we not go on rants? Or more specifically, when the hell do you not go on rants?
Yeah, I just go on rants because I want to go on rants. But
it's kind of our trademark.
Yeah, it's kind of our trademark. And sometimes we get people who on Twitter and on Discord they're just too afraid to go on Twitter and tweet. One of our Discord members even sent me a message. He's like, why did you tweet the XFL like that? You go put a bad image. It's like, I don't care about your image. It's my image. And I don't care about my image in the XFL. If I get blocked or I get shunned, I don't care. I have a day-to-day life. I have another job. I cover another sport in my free time too. So, and also sometimes you need a antagonist to attack another podcast to get fame. But that's how we are. But besides that, really besides pro football talk and this week, that's the Unhinged podcast for this week, ladies and gentlemen.
And unhinged it was.
God
damn.
We'll see you Friday, basically.
Let's get the hell out of here, y'all. Peace. Hasta luego.